Hello, sweet friends. It's me once again, your Sugar Plum Fairy, and I truly have a sweet treat for you today. I'm going to be sharing two of my favorite cookie recipes for the holiday season, so I hope you try them out. And who am I? Well, I'm none other than Indiana Jones, and today we'll be baking with Indiana Jones. Let's get started. A brief history of the French macaron that I'm going to be making today, not to be confused with coconut macaroons. As you can see, they're very different. One is based with almond flour and the other one with coconut. But what's important to notice is that they're not actually French. They did not come from this woman here. Oh, no. It actually came from the Jews and was later popularized by another queen, Queen Catherine de' Medici of Italy, who was married to Henry II. Now, what happened was Jews would use almond flour instead of leavened flour for Passover. So they would actually create these cookies without the filling for Passover. Later on, it was popularized in Paris by a patisserie who added the insides or the beautiful, delicious fillings. But for now, let's create what is known as a French macaron. Believe me, after you do this recipe, you'll understand why these little cookies are so costly. We're going to start with room temperature eggs. You have to keep them at room temperature. Keep them outside for at least half an hour to make sure that they're not cold. And we're going to separate these eggs later on. Next, we're going to need some granulated sugar, powdered sugar. We're going to need a little bit of cream of tartar, and also a little tiny bit of salt, and of course almond flour, which is the base of this cookie. Now the first step is to clean. Believe it or not, yes, you're going to have to clean every surface that you're going to use for your French macarons because they need to be completely grease-free. And the way you do this is using a little bit of lemon juice or lime juice or a little bit of white vinegar. Here I'm just using some lime juice. And I have to note, thank you to Manny for fixing my beautiful KitchenAid that I found for $25 on Facebook Marketplace. And he fixed it up and it is working fabulously. Now, the most important step here is to sift all of your dry ingredients. Not once, not twice, 3 times. I'm not kidding you. Now, here we're going to add the powdered sugar, and it's 1 cup and 2/3 of powdered sugar. So I'm putting that all together in my, I guess, what is that called? A sifter? Sieve? What is that called? I can't remember, but you know what it is, that big thing that you have there. If you have a food processor, you can put your dry ingredients through a food processor. Again, 2 or 3 times. The most important thing is that it looks very smooth and soft when you create these macarons. These are the most finicky cookies you will ever make, but oh goodness, they're so delicious. They're so yummy and cute. So here I am adding the next 2/3 of that cup of sugar. I'm trying to make sure that it's really very precise. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of almond flour. And once again, if you have a food processor, run this almond flour through the processor, and you still have to sift it because this is made of almonds, obviously. So there's going to be, as you see, little pieces that are not going to be small enough to pass through the sieve. So don't try to force them through, just let them fall through naturally. Now here I've already incorporated the sugar, the powdered sugar, and the almond flour. And what I'm doing is I'm filling up my sifter again. I don't know what this is called. Anyway, I'm filling that up to sift through it once again for a second and a third time. And all I'm doing is just gently moving the flour and the powdered sugar through the sifter without pushing it through because we don't want any large particles. Now we have to get the eggs ready and make the egg whites into a meringue. So what we're going to use here is 1/2 teaspoon of crème de tartar. I don't know why it's called crème de tartar, but I love saying crème de tartar. It just seems so, I don't know, finicky. These are finicky cookies, I'm not gonna lie, but they are doable. If I can make it, you can make it. And then the other 1/2 of that teaspoon is going to be 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That other little carrier that we have there has 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Now, once again, I am cleaning everything with that lime juice to make absolutely sure that there's no grease anywhere. If not, we don't get the fluffy state or the stiff state of the meringue that we need. Now, I'm old school. This is how I divide up my eggs. And if you see that when they're room temperature, they're properly room temperature, the egg whites just separate clearly from the egg yolk without any problems. I only have to pass it once, twice, and that's it. Now I have beautiful eggs for some hollandaise sauce. Yummy, yummy. Let's make some poached eggs after this with hollandaise sauce. It's so good. So there you have your 3 egg whites. And always put it in a separate a dish and put it away. The egg yolks, put them away covered in the refrigerator. Now with the egg whites, we're going to use our whipper? That's not right. Our whisk. That's the right. We don't want a whipper. Oh, a whippersnapper. No. We're going to use our whisk attachment, and we're going to whisk up those egg whites first by themselves just to let them incorporate, and slowly we're going to add the salt and cream de tartare. Everything here takes time. This is an 1.5 to 2 hour cookies. I am so sorry, but if you're gonna make French macarons, just put on a Hallmark movie, enjoy it. And here I am cleaning the spatula again with some lime juice, believe it or not. I know this is a very, very, very particular cookie, but it's so worth it. If you've ever had a French macaron, it's so worth it. So now I am adding, once we've gotten it to a kind of fluffy stage, not completely fluffy, but kind of fluffy stage, we're going to add the 1/4 cup of sugar. Now here I am checking to see if I have stiff peaks, and they are stiff, but not stiff enough. I don't know if you understand what that means, but basically I should be able to hold the bowl over. I'm not going to just put it over my head, but you should be able to hold it upside down, and none of the meringue should move whatsoever. So I want to make sure that I have very stiff peaks, but remember, do not overbeat your meringue. Again, you can underbeat, you can overbeat. There's so many ways that things can go wrong, but don't worry about it. Now, I'm preparing what's going to be my piping bags. I don't have piping bags. I'm only going to go get piping bags. I'm just going to use my Ziploc bags. I put them in a cup so that they're ready for my mixture once it's all incorporated. Now that is a nice stiff peak. And now all I'm doing is incorporating my meringue to the dry ingredients. And it's a very particular way to do this. You're going to fold the ingredients together, not going to mix it around. It's a very particular way to do it. Now you're supposed to count how many times you incorporate or you go around the bowl. I didn't do that. I just, go by look and feel. And as you can see, what I'm doing is folding. I'm just folding the ingredients together. And all you're doing is going underneath the ingredients and pulling them through. And so it's under and through in a very gentle way, as you can tell. Because the last thing I want to do is to defluff that beautiful, fluffy, stiff meringue. We've got to keep it as it is to make this a beautiful cookie. Again, it's not that it's a difficult cookie, it just takes time and patience. So, take a Sunday afternoon after church. If you're on your own and you're watching a Hallmark movie, that's the best time to make these French macarons. And again, it's so worth it in the end. It's such a delight to eat and to display these beautiful cookies. At this stage, it's the best time to add your food coloring. Now, you're going to use food coloring gel, not the water-based liquid, because even that will affect the capability of your macaron to, develop feet, to just be a macaron as it should be. So again, food gel. And the deeper the color now, the deeper the color will be after it bakes. Now, as you can see, when I pull up my spatula, the cookie dough, or the cookie dough, has to look like it's lava, flowing lava, to make sure that it's been well incorporated. Now I'm using my piping bags. I'm filling up my piping bags with my macaron dough. I don't know if to call it dough. It's like, it's really, well, it's a really interesting cooking mix. And putting it aside. So I'm filling up both of my piping bags. I used 2 because, and I could have used 1 big bag, but I think it's easier to control when you have smaller piping bags, and you'll see in a moment. Now, all I'm going to do now with these piping bags is get a cookie sheet that is lined with parchment paper. Please make sure that you line it with parchment paper. I was so thrilled when my friend Brenda of Monner's Market invited me to co-host this collaboration of Christmas cookies. So I would love it if you were to check not only Brenda's channel, but all the other wonderful bakers here on this playlist. I hope this sparks some cookie creations of your own. Now use a little bit of the meringue underneath the parchment paper to just secure it to the cookie sheet so you don't have a problem of it lifting up while you're dabbing down your beautiful cookie dough. Now all we're going to do is cut the corner of one of those bags, as you see here, and it doesn't have to be a huge hole, but what I'm doing here is I'm swirling around. There's different ways of making the cookie. I like to swirl it around. It just gives me more control, and I try to keep the cookie around I guess 2 inches in, I don't know, yeah, 2 inches, around 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Now, some people will draw the cookie diagram underneath the parchment paper, but I'm just making these rough and ready. I don't know, you can, if you're very particular, you can do that. And that way you also make sure to keep the round shape. Some of these are differently shaped, as you can see here, but I was just doing this for fun. I wasn't trying to be too perfectionist. It's enough that the dough is so persnickety. I didn't want to have to be persnickety with the cookie itself. But here is my cookies, and after all that, gentleness, whack them so that you get all the air bubbles out and make sure that they don't pop during the baking. Now at this time is the best time to preheat your oven to 300 degrees and leave the cookies out for at least 20 to 30 minutes so that they create a hardened shell. As you can tell, they've already sat out and they have a hardened shell so that the little feet will actually pop up. Now here is my first batch of cookies. I had 2 batches, I had 2 bags. So this first batch of cookies, they look lovely, don't they? They look just fine. However, when I lift them up, and the way you know that your cookies are done is that they will very easily lift off the parchment paper without any kind of spatula or anything, you will notice that these, they're still a little stuck, but more importantly, look at the bottom of these cookies. Oh no, they're still good, believe me. These are still delicious, but you don't want that brown undercoating to your cookie because it just doesn't, number one, it doesn't look pretty, but it's just not the proper French macaron. So luckily I had another baking sheet that was cooking, and I didn't leave it in the oven quite as long as this first batch. And it's just, again, you have to keep watching your cookies. Now I'm bringing out my second batch. And this, again, was a smaller amount of cookies, but still, as I pull them out onto the cooling rack, you'll see such a difference because you can already tell, look how easily they're moving off of the baking parchment paper. Now you'll see when I lift one up, the difference between one cookie and another. So the second batch, perfectly baked. And the first batch, a little brown, but still delicious. I wouldn't throw these away. They're still very good. But for gifts, I would use the second batch. I forgot to film this part, but I made a very basic buttercream, and all this takes is a stick of butter and 2 cups of powdered sugar and a little bit of milk. And it all depends on how thick you want to have your buttercream. Again, here I am using a little bit of coloring gel just to give it a little bit of a pink color. And once again, I am using my piping bag to pipe on the filling to the cookies. Now you can use jam, you can use ganache, you can use buttercream. There are so many different fillings, and you can decorate it as you like. You can add sprinkles to the side. Now, like I said, I made these rough and ready. I like just to pop in a few and just have them so that I can watch, have dinner with my brother Manny and my sons, and just have some beautiful French macarons afterwards. These, again, once you have them done, they're so much fun to decorate. You can see that one broke on me. Oh, one broke over there on the side, but they're still good and so yummy. Now, How am I going to display this, or how would I gift this? I found this beautiful teacup. Yes, there's nothing better than French macarons and teacup, French macarons and a teacup. And this is like so French looking, this teacup. I got it at Goodwill. It was only $2.99, but it actually is a beautiful English bone china teacup. Now I'm going to take a plastic bag. It's a plastic or a cellophane bag that has little snowflakes on it, just to have a little Christmassy in it. And I made these pretty big. These are pretty big macarons. So I'm only going to be able to put 2 in my bag. And that's it. I'm going to close it up with some pink ribbon. And I am done. That's how I am displaying my cookies as a gift. I think it's a wonderful gift to include with a teacup if you're going to give someone a teacup, but it's just so perfectly feminine and French, and that way they'll have a beautiful cookie as they enjoy a nice cup of tea. So I hope you try this cookie for yourself this Christmas season. Before I start my next cookie, I thought it would be a nice time to take a little break and do some decorating. So I wanted to show you my latest Christmas lights from Almond. Now these lights are very small, but very, very powerful. And what's great about it is that this light set comes with their own little remote control. Look how fabulous and how bright these colors are. So the colors come in gold, red, green, and blue. Some of them might be a little too flashy, but I think they're wonderful for outdoors. And instead of going outdoors, it's very hot outside, and I didn't want to be too far from the kitchen. I decided to decorate around my fireplace mantle. It's not a real fireplace because it's too hot outside, but my little Christmas mantle. So let's see how I can decorate using these Almond lights. Now what I did was I intertwined the lights with this bow of greenery that I had from last year, and the lights on this greenery had broken, so I got rid of the lights, but I decided to keep the greenery. And of course these Almond lights were just perfect for this. Now I think they're fabulous because they're so small. You can barely see them when the lights are turned off. Usually you can see the light bulbs when the lights are turned off, and it's doesn't look that nice. It doesn't have that woodland feel when you can see those lights in the greenery. But now when I turn them on again, they are just spectacular. These lights are so bright and beautiful and colorful, and I just love them. And it makes me so happy just to see some Christmas lights already. And look at that, because of the way it's constructed, it has this beautiful like branching. So it's not just one line of one string of lights, one light per one light per one light. It's these little branches of lights. And again, because the light bulbs are so small, you can't see them when they're turned off. So here I am completing my mantle. And again, it's very colorful and very fun, but I think I will enjoy these lights for this Christmas season and for many years to come. So down in my description below, you'll see that I have a discount code. So take advantage and do some shopping and get some Almond lights for your home this Christmas season. These next cookies are so much easier. They are from John Cannell, who is from the Preppy Kitchen. He has wonderful cookie recipes, and I always wanted to try these out. These are cream cheese cookies, and like I said, they're so easy to make. 10 minutes to prep and 10 minutes to bake. So the recipe starts with a 1 3/4 cups all-purpose flour. To that, we're going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt. And those are your dry ingredients. We didn't have to sift them. We didn't have to, do anything. But what I suggest you do is once you have all your dry ingredients combined, to make sure you whisk it. I know it doesn't make sense, but whisk it just to make sure that there aren't any lumps, number one, but to add a little bit of air. You do add a little bit of air when you whisk things together, as I've done here. Put that aside, and we're going to have 1 stick of butter and then half of a package of cream cheese. Both of these should be room temperature softened, not melted, softened. You don't want melted butter in any of your cookie recipes usually, because it does not incorporate well, and you want the butter to melt in the oven. Incorporating the butter and the cream cheese together, we are going to add some sugar now to this. We're going to add a cup of granulated sugar as we're mixing everything together. that's the best way to add any kind of ingredients when you're creaming the, and I love this whole thing. Oh, and I forgot to add, we're going to add some vanilla. I have Mexican vanilla, and I added, I believe 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I like a nice strong vanilla flavor. And then to this, we're going to add our cup of granulated sugar. Also, we're going to add a room temperature egg. I don't know if you know this, but you should use room temperature eggs when you're making cookies. Again, the same thing with the butter. You don't want it to be cold. You want it to be room temperature. Now, once all the wet ingredients are incorporated, we're going to add our dry ingredients, and using our paddle on our mixer. And yes, I'm showing off my mixer because I'm so happy. I've always wanted to have a KitchenAid, and thanks to Manny, I do. And thanks to Facebook Marketplace, I use the paddle to mix everything together. Now, if you have a scooper, one of the smaller ice cream scoopers, I couldn't find mine, just put a spoonful, rounded spoonfuls, and here I've just created rounded spoonfuls using 2 spoons, sorry, not 2 cups, 2 spoons. And it's easy enough to do with the 2 spoons as well as a scooper and an ice cream scoop. And there they are, boom, real fast, real easy. These are really fun. You can put icing on them if you want, drizzle some chocolate, white chocolate or milk chocolate, anything you like. Now, to package these, and I'm sorry I don't have any cookies left to package. They were that good. They were that good. By the time I sat down and started making the packaging, I realized there were no more cookies left. I think there were like 2. So this is what I would do for the packaging. I created this, I had this recipe page and this packet of paper that I had from Michael's from last year. And I thought it would be perfect to have the recipe on the bottom of this box. Now I'm cutting some of this beautiful plaid paper. I love this plaid paper. And I'm just going to accordion this, do the little back and forth thing. Create a little accordion. And what I'm going to do is just create a little like vintage looking embellishment by turning it around. And you know what's funny? I have a cat now here on my table as I'm trying to record, but I didn't have a single cat incident while I was baking, which is a good thing. I think Luke took them both to his room, and there I'm creating my embellishment using that wonderful paper, and I thought it would be cute and rustic to include some pine and a little pine cone, and basically that's it. I'm just using one of those treat boxes from the Dollar Tree, but adding a little touch of my own. And I think this would be a lovely gift box for a neighbor, for example, or a coworker. I think this is just darling. And nothing says I love you like baking in your own home and presenting that. There's so few items that are home baked, and taking the time to just enjoy a movie and bake at home is the best time to do it during this holiday season. So I hope you're inspired to get in the kitchen and start baking and create your own little carriers as gifts for your friends. Thank you once again to my friend Brenda for asking me to co-host this Christmas cookie. Let's start again. This Christmas cookie collaboration, which was hosted by my friend Brenda of Monner's Market. And thanks to all of the other bakers and crafters that joined us in this collaboration. I can't thank you enough for stopping by and visiting, and I hope you enjoyed what I showed today. And I hope if you are new that you take the moment to like, share, and subscribe. And as I always say, stay safe, be kind, God bless each and every one of you, and remember to live the adventure, and remember to check out the playlist below. See you again soon.